All right, let's dive into a really complex story. It's about a nation that's been fighting for its place on the map for decades. And suddenly, it's become a flashpoint for some of the world's biggest powers. So here's the central mystery we're looking at today. A place called Somaliland is right at the heart of a new global conflict, a huge geopolitical flashpoint. But for most of us, it's a country that doesn't even exist. And make no mistake, this is not some small regional dispute. We're talking about a major standoff. You've got heavy hitters like the US and China, and regional powers like Turkey and Egypt, and they're all scrambling for influence over Somaliland's incredibly strategic coastline. So what exactly is this place, and why has it all of a sudden become so critical to global security and trade? Well, the game completely changed with Israel's recent decision to formally recognize Somaliland as an independent nation. That one move basically forced everyone's hand. It's drawn these really clear battle lines, and now nations around the world are finally having to pick a side. But to really understand today's high-stakes fight, we have to rewind the clock. We have to go back more than 60 years to a time when Somaliland willingly gave up literally everything it had, all for a powerful, unifying dream. Picture this. It's June 26, 1960. British Somaliland becomes a fully independent, sovereign nation. It's recognized by the world. It was actually the very first Somali state to gain its freedom from colonial rule. And here's the crucial point, the one that so often gets lost in history. 34 UN member states, we're talking Egypt, Israel, the big players on the Security Council, they all officially recognized Somaliland as an independent country. It was, for a moment, a nation on the map. But then, driven by this powerful dream of pan-Somali unity, they did something absolutely extraordinary. Just 5 days after getting their independence, they made a historic offer to their brothers in the South, who had just gotten their own freedom from Italy. They sacrificed their brand new nation to create one unified Somali republic. And this is where we get to this incredible historical irony. Back in 1960, it was Somaliland pushing hard for unity, while the South was kind of hesitant. Today, the roles have completely and tragically flipped. So let's see what happened next, because that beautiful dream of unity, well, it soured really fast. It led to marginalization, to betrayal, and eventually to one of Africa's most brutal civil wars. The union almost immediately became a betrayal. For 18 long years, the government, which was led from the South, just systematically neglected the North. All the power, all the resources, they all got consolidated in Mogadishu. The people of Somaliland were left totally marginalized in the very nation they had sacrificed so much to create. And under the brutal dictator Siad Barre, these tensions didn't just simmer, they exploded into open war. His regime unleashed a campaign of just horrific violence. Over 200,000 people from Somaliland were killed. Many have since labeled it a genocide. This violence forced a massive exodus. We're talking nearly 500,000 people. 450,000 who had to flee as refugees just to escape the slaughter by crossing the border into Ethiopia. And it doesn't even stop there. Another 400,000 were displaced inside their own country. They became refugees in their own homeland as their cities and homes were just utterly destroyed by their own government's military. Out of this immense collective trauma came this unbreakable will to be free again. Somalilanders formed a resistance, they fought back, they won, and then in 1991, they declared that their independence was restored. But after all of that, the world refused to recognize them. For more than 30 years, they've been this peaceful, democratic, but totally unrecognized state. And that brings us right back to today's global chessboard. So the situation has basically split all the key international players into two camps. On one side, you have the disruptors. They see Somaliland's independence as a huge strategic opportunity. And on the other, you have the status quo bloc, who see it as a profound threat to the entire region. For the status quo guys, an independent Somaliland could unravel the entire existing order. Egypt, for example, is worried that a new power dynamic could threaten its control over the Suez Canal. Turkey has invested a ton in the government in Mogadishu, so it sees a breakaway state as a direct challenge. China's terrified it would set a dangerous precedent for Taiwan. And the African Union? It's all about upholding those old colonial borders, fearing a domino effect of separatism all across the continent. But then you look at the disruptor bloc, and for them, Somaliland is an absolute strategic game changer. For a landlocked country like Ethiopia with 120 million people, It's about getting desperately needed access to the sea. It's a matter of economic survival. For Israel, it's a potential intelligence post on a vital waterway to counter Iran. For the UAE, it's a chance to outmaneuver its regional rivals. And for some factions in the US, Somaliland looks like a stable, democratic partner in a really volatile region, a potential counterweight to Chinese and Iranian influence. America's position, though, is, well, it's complicated. Their deep hesitation is rooted in some pretty serious historical scars. Most famously, the whole Black Hawk Down incident back in '93. And that history makes their next move incredibly hard to predict. So, what we're left with is a situation with no easy answers. There are no simple solutions here, just dangerously escalating stakes for absolutely everyone involved. When Israel formally recognized Somaliland, they didn't just make a diplomatic move. You have to think of it like this. They effectively planted a geopolitical mine, and it's now sitting right in the middle of one of the world's most critical shipping lanes, and everyone has to deal with the consequences. And that is the question that's leaving diplomats and military planners sleepless at night. For over 30 years, the people of Somaliland built a nation in total isolation. Now, the world has come knocking, and the entire region is just holding its breath.